Right, is somebody going to be able to do this test fairly? Because when you don't do it fairly, all you end up doing is showing actually how good the PS5 Pro is, because you've cut corners, you've done things like buy things at a massive discount which other people can't get, you buy things secondhand, you don't buy things to the equal spec, and so on and so on. All you do when you do that is not show that you've beaten or killed a PS5 or PS5 Pro, whatever you're trying to do. You've actually shown that you can't do it, therefore actually showing that the console that you're trying to kill is actually a lot better than what you're making out. So let's see how this one goes. Honest Tech Tips doing this one.
It took us over 3 years to build a $500 PC that could beat the PlayStation 5. And even then there were some compromises. And now we're conspiring to murder the PS5 Pro in less than a week?
It shouldn't be that hard. I mean, that $200 price bump that everyone is angry about frees up a lot of money for our budget.
Except for one small problem, David. While $200 is certainly a lot of money, it doesn't buy that much these days. And while we could have taken the easy path and just thrown a better GPU into our original killer, this is LTT. We don't play on easy mode. When we're done, we're gonna have upgraded graphics, more features, a case that doesn't look straight out of the Fallout universe, and the same or better performance than the PS5 Pro. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty cool when I heard the PS5 killer mentioned by the Mark Cerny, lead system architect on the PS4 and PS5, even if he was being kind of salty about it. I mean, to be clear, I think he recognized that our declaration of victory was obviously tongue-in-cheek, and that we do fully appreciate the gaming value that's on display from the PS5 hardware. But
right, so the other one was slightly tongue-in-cheek. Not sure if it was though, or was it only when you called out on certain things afterwards you sort of declare it as tongue-in-cheek. So I'm going to take this one with a pinch of salt as well. I'm not going to be too serious about it, but we'll see what happens.
And that we do fully appreciate the gaming value that's on display from the PS5 hardware. But he clearly still felt the need to call us out on shortcuts that we used. Like the fact that we used a second-hand motherboard in our system while comparing it to a brand new disc-based PS5. But here's what you got wrong, Marky, my guy. It was all used parts, not just a used motherboard, so wait.
Well, well, I didn't see that last video, but apparently it's all used parts, so that is not just corner cutting, that's like cutting corners left, right and centre, but yeah.
No, that's worse. And Mr. Cerny wasn't the only one to take issue with that comparison. Many commenters accused us of giving an unfair advantage to Team PC. But, as you would expect from any coverage of this topic, the angry comments came from the other side too, with many of you accusing us of favoring Team Console. Linus, you said, you didn't place enough value on the extra flexibility of the PC, on the free online play, or the cheaper, larger game library. But guys...
That's always going to be debatable, that one, because everyone knows that PCs can do other stuff. But if you've got any sense at all, you also know you can get a laptop which can do all those other little things, and it will be portable as well, and just stick it under your arm and take it anywhere you like. And as for the free online play, again, it's another debatable thing. Console people that prefer the system that they've got, where it does cost money, but then you get those AAA games as well. But of course, the other side of it is obviously PC is free, and you do get to play all those online games without paying a penny at the same time. So it's all swings and roundabouts. You know, a console user would probably argue back that, yeah, your PC costs probably twice as much at least in power requirements, in energy costs to run than my console, which pays for that subscription every year. So it's the same. So anyway, you can debate those things all along, but let's get back to this.
Look, not every video can be about every topic, and today our goal is straightforward. We are going to beat the PS5 Pro in visual fidelity and frame rate at the same price.
Right, he said it outright. We are going to beat the PS5 Pro in fidelity and performance for the same price. He said it. Let's see it happen then.
We're still going to allow secondhand parts because...
Oh! And there it is. We're still going to allow second-hand parts. Well, you might as well admit you can't already do it. That's basically what you just said. Anyway, let's see where it goes. If you class one of the advantages of a PC, you can buy multiple different components, which obviously you can, then let's see where that goes. Because obviously some people, when they upgrade their PC, they're not going to buy a brand new part every single time. A very good condition used part, they'll say, is not really any different. So, you know. So what the heck? Let's see what happens.
Yes, Mark, we do need shortcuts to beat your wonderful machine, but we are going to uncut as many other corners as possible, which means getting the absolute most out of every penny we spend, starting with our CPU, the Intel Core i5-12400F. And I can already hear you saying, Linus, Intel for gaming? And yeah, to be clear, the AMD 5600X would have been our ideal pick, and if they were priced identically, we would have gone Team Red, just like Sony did for the PS5 Pro. But when we can save about $30 and still get a better CPU than what's in any version of Sony's white monolith, it's kind of a no-brainer. Once again, we aren't going with the exact specs of the machine.
But you should do, that's the whole point. I know he says to equal or better the performance, so this is maybe why he's gone this route, but you've got extra cores there and threads. Yeah, it's an older Zen 2 versus the newer Alder Lake there, and the clock speed is higher on their one, which may make up for the cores and threads, but have to see.
Machine we're competing against. We've actually got 2 fewer processing cores, but our cores are more powerful than Sony's, meaning that in gaming, we should come out ahead. And the included cooler, that's a nice little bonus for additional savings. The leap over to Team Blue comes with other benefits as well. Now that the LGA 1700 platform has been out for a few years, there are some cheap motherboards out there, like this ASRock B660M HDV that we found for under $40. Now you don't need to go for this one in particular. In fact,
hold on.
B660M HDV that we found for under $40.
No, it wasn't though. It doesn't say free shipping there, does it? It says plus $14.46 delivery from Canada. So that's, or but a few cents, $50. You've just knocked $14.46 off the price of your build. If you're buying these parts second hand, you have to take into consideration what it's going to cost to get them shipped. You just do. And that's $14.40 he's knocked off. Oh, is this going to be a theme? Is he going to do this continuously throughout this? In that case, I'll keep track of that just to see what he cut off at the end. But he said he wasn't going to cut any corners, and that's a big cut already.
Now you don't need to go for this one in particular. In fact, if it wasn't for the outstanding deal we got, we would have preferred something with a couple of Gen 4 NVMe slots and built-in Wi-Fi. But going used means you need to be flexible and snag whatever works and is cheap. But
imagine that when they put the PS5 Pro together. They said, we'll just put whatever works and is cheap in it. I know some will say that that's what they did with the Zen 2 processor, but by and large, they just wanted to match it up, I think, to the base PS5 while keeping it very similar. You're not going to get major issues when it comes to game compatibility down the line. But yeah, that's not the way I'd want to build a PC, by whatever works and is cheap. But I'll roll with it.
be flexible and snag whatever works and is cheap. But hey, at least being B660, it does support higher speed XMP memory kits. Like this one. This, our 16 gig kit of G.Skill Ripjaws 5.
That's what he's got there. Now he's going to say it's basically $40, which it is, because the shipping's actually more than the item. And that's on bids. That's not actually the finished price yet. That's actually bids. That's not actually the end price. The way eBay works is that won't actually be the final price until the auction runs out. But let's say you got them for $19.50. Did you look at that one or this one? I know he said the 5, didn't he? So yeah, it is that one. So if he says he got them for $19.50, he really got them for just under $40. So we got what, 35, nearly $36 already. We got to add to the price at the end because he's forgetting about the free shipping, which he seems to get, but he didn't because you have to pay for that.
Now it's worth noting that because of our CPU choice, we could have gone with DDR5 and a DDR5 motherboard, but this kit was just $20.
He didn't put he didn't put the shipping on again. So we've got to keep track of that. Yeah, he's clearly forgetting about the shipping cost. And if you're going to buy second hand from random people, you have to consider that they're not posting it for free to you.
And every penny counts, especially now that we need to match the PS5 Pro's 2 terabytes of storage. And we did. Or at least we were supposed to. This is 1 terabyte.
It was marked in inventory as 2 terabytes. We're still counting the price of a 2 terabyte one against our total.
I see. Okay. Now, you probably noticed this is a pretty decent looking SSD. Last time around, we didn't have a high-end SSD, and we justified our choice by pointing out that it doesn't really have an impact on real-world gaming performance. But this time...
No, it does though, because it affects the overall performance of how usable the PS5 Pro is. Like Wi-Fi 7 doesn't affect the real-world gaming performance, but it affects the console as a whole thing of how usable it is to use. Like I massively prefer my PS5 Pro already over my base PS5 simply because of that 2 terabyte SSD. It makes it so much more usable. On the base model, I was constantly moving games backwards and forwards from external drive onto the internal drive and things like that, or the internal storage, and I don't really have to do that anymore. I've got stacks of games on the PS5 Pro, and I don't have to do that shifting about anymore. So it is an important factor, and it's still something you've got to match up, like the controller. Is he going to take into consideration a DualSense controller, or a controller that's equal to that? You know, with haptics, with built-in speaker, built-in microphone. We'll see.
And we justified our choice by pointing out that it doesn't really have an impact on real-world gaming performance. But this time, we're challenging ourselves to do better. And we found something that meets Sony's minimum recommended requirements for a secondary drive. And we went with the WD Black SN850X, which we found for a little under $75, and which happens to be Tom's Hardware's pick for best PS5 SSD. Though it should be noted that there are other options out there at very reasonable prices.
That is already a very reasonable price for a 2 terabyte drive that matches the same one as the PS5 Pro. 75? I'm not sure that's an easy to get price, but again, we'll roll with it because he said the first one was tongue-in-cheek. I'm not sure if this one is being equally tongue-in-cheek, but yeah, there's corners being cut on the second-hand stuff, the shipping not being added on, like these remarkably cheap to get parts sometimes, but hey, wow.
Mid-size NZXT H510 that we found for $30 on Facebook Marketplace. Okay, Eagle Eyes, it's not the exact same one, but come on. What's the point of us buying that black one that someone else could use when we have this white one sitting in our warehouse? And besides, the point is not the exact case. There are a ton of options out there around this price point, including some much more fun ones if you don't mind rolling the dice. We also found some older model cases that have support for an optical drive if that's your thing, but we won't need one this time around because the PS5 Pro doesn't have one either. Thanks for the free right angle, comrades of Ken Kutaragi.
But most PCs these days don't have an optical drive either now because a lot of people don't use discs anymore. A lot of people have shifted to digital, even though a lot of people don't like it. Obviously, the people who've got physical collections are going to have an issue with that, but I haven't put a disc in a console or my PC for absolutely ages now. And there's pros and cons to each. A lot of people will say that going digital, killing it eventually or whatever, or allowing them to fix prices and what have you. But that's a different conversation completely. Let's just carry on with this.
When it comes to raw power, there are any number of power supplies that could do the job, but we didn't want a shoddy heartbeat for our Sony Slayer here, so after looking through a number of reputable units at the right price, we settled on this Corsair CX750 for $35.
$35. He's forgot about the shipping again. Threw on 35 before, give or take a couple of cents. We're now on 39, pretty much 40. So he's forgot about $40 worth of shipping fees so far.
$5. 750 watts? Yeah, that sounds kind of overkill considering that the PS5 Pro draws less than half of that. But we're going to need it to power a GPU that can beat the Pro, which I guess.
And there you go. This is a thing as well. It's another thing, which for console users offsets a lot of PC users say they complain or they say one of the strengths of the PC is the free online versus paid for online of consoles. But the running cost of a PC over a year is probably going to offset the price of that online subscription. And console users say, well, and I get all those AAA titles as well, and other things. PC users say, I'll get really good discounts, but there's good discounts as well on the console. Anyway, that's not meant to be about that argument, but he's kind of making it into that argument. But anyway, let's carry on.
We're going to need it to power a GPU that can beat the Pro. Which I guess brings us perfectly to the star of any good gaming PC. And also the star of the PS5 Pro, if you consider that the GPU changes are the only ones that really impact performance. Sony made a big deal out of the big three. Larger GPU with 45% better raw performance, more advanced ray tracing hardware, and a new AI-driven upscaling that they call PSSR. Ever since the announcement, I've been very eager to get my hands on this bad boy to see what kind of PC card that's going to translate to in the real world. We can make some guesses. The closest comparison could be a downclocked 7800 XT, but the not yet seen ray tracing hardware and custom better than FSR but not quite DLSS upscaling makes us wonder if we're going to need to wait for AMD's 8000 series for a true equivalent. One way to avoid giving up features would be to go for an NVIDIA RTX 4070 because, as Digital Foundry pointed out, its feature set more closely matches the new console. But when it came to decision time, we felt that this XFX Quick 7800 XT with its higher raw performance would make up for the lack of shiny features and help us secure another win for Team PC.
I'm not sure how that's going to be a win for Team PC when the ray tracing ability of the PlayStation 5 as well is really, really good. I'm not sure that card he's chosen there will be up to scratch for that. That's why Digital Foundry recommended that other one. But the reason why I didn't pick that one is because it'd have been too much money and you wouldn't be able to do it. So it is a corner cut. You said you weren't going to cut any corners. And you are.
For Team PC. What are we looking at for our total?
$655.
Wait, really? That leaves enough for a sketchy Windows key, that 8BitDo controller we checked out recently, and even some stick lock from LTTstore.com to cover those precious analog nubbins during transport. But,
how about the controller? That was a cheap controller there. The controller, you got to match, because that's what you said you were going to do. Going to match performance on everything, or beat it. He's actually said you've got to do the equivalent of a DualSense controller, or just buy a DualSense controller, because that's going to be the equivalent. That'll work on a PC. And that's 7080. At least have a controller which is haptics with built-in mic, built-in speaker, the same sort of quality level as what you get with the PS5 Pro. And Wi-Fi 7? Not heard anything about that yet.
I couldn't help noticing there's still no Wi-Fi 7.
Okay,
well, that's a bit of a corner, isn't it? But, hold on. If we built this machine using the absolute lowest prices we found, Scrapyard War style, maybe we could get it at a lower price?
$535.
Not.
What? So hang on, he's just knocked off another 120 for what he's calling scrapyard prices? How does that work? So you got these apparently easy to find prices, which are already not that easy to find. A lot of these weren't even finished auctions. But they're getting these scrapyard prices at sometimes half the price of the other one, or less than half price. 30? Oh, come on. How are you getting 2 terabytes SSD with that super fast SSD for 30? Just get real with this. Just admit you can't do it. It's as simple as that. 535. So he's adding in now the Wi-Fi 7 and the rest of it. Still minus the controller. And a few other bits to equal it up, but it's still way short. And it's still the wrong graphics card.
Not bad. That's a potential $165 of budget to play with for a Wi-Fi card and, I don't know, other stuff.
What would you use the money for, Linus?
That's a tough question, because you're not going to go up another class of GPU, and you could upgrade your CPU, but that's probably not going to affect gaming performance that much. I think the best use of it, this is a pretty well-rounded system. Probably just go for some games. Speaking of, let's do a side-by-side. How close are we here?
Right,
I definitely am seeing some weird moire in my rug.
Me as well.
But, oh, you are too.
Yeah. Right now I've set our PC to the PS5's Ray Trace Performance Mode, which is the ideal way to play on PS5 base, but we probably want to mess.
Now, the thing is with these is, you got to remember that what you're seeing on a YouTube video is never going to be as good as it's going to be in real life. But I can even see from this already, I've played this game a bit in this beginning scene. I'll put it in a video myself. And even on this YouTube video here of this capture, I can actually see this image on their PC is much more flat than the PS5 Pro version. There's more depth to it, better lighting. Don't know if they've got the ray tracing on or whatever, but I don't know what's going on. But it's not quite as good as the PS5 Pro to me already.
Base, but we probably want to mess with the settings a little bit to get a little more visual fidelity and see what we can squeeze out.
Question for you. Oh yeah, no, we're still getting some pop in from the confetti. It looks about the same on both of them.
The thing that you get on console, which for me is still leaps and bounds ahead of the PC, especially when viewed on something like an OLED telly, is HDR. And the HDR on these games just makes them pop, makes them just shine, and they look absolutely mind-blowingly good. Something which the Windows version of HDR is like still nowhere near.
Getting some pop in from the confetti. It looks about the same on both of them. Honestly, when we did the short circuit on the PS5 Pro, I didn't find that the PS5 and the Pro looked that different in this game. No. And I'm having a hard time picking anything. Oh, the grass. Your grass is noticeably higher fidelity than mine.
Yeah.
Noticeably higher fidelity? It's noticeably higher fidelity. It's a complete mess on the PC right now. I know they can play with settings and try and
noticeably
fix it.
higher fidelity than mine.
Yeah.
Okay. If I want to catch up, I'm going to have to change that. Nothing here looks like it's going to help with that. All I can really do is...
I think it's just resolution and FSR. So FSR will be in display.
Oh, whoa. Interesting. Does it look closer to yours right now?
Yeah,
because we looked at... I swear, when we were looking at it before, it was...
Good.
Hold on, okay, I'm going back.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's poo-poo again.
That's so interesting. It's so blurry.
What do I have to change to make it operate like it does in the menu? Look at this. Am I supposed to be able to see what I'm changing? No, definitely not.
We're definitely getting 1% lows below 60. Ray tracing is on, which is definitely not the 7800 XT's, forte. But
that's the thing, you've got ray tracing on, and that's one of the reasons it's not looking as good as the PS5 Pro version, because the PS5 Pro is decent at ray tracing, and the combination of that with the really good HDR you get from console is just why the PS5 Pro version on this game right now looks way better. Obviously they've still got some settings to fiddle with. They may be able to equal it up, but I'm not sure you're able to match the combination of that better ray tracing on the PS5 Pro and the effect of HDR.
Forte. But that's the trade-off.
I think in this game, we're going to have to say there's an advantage for the PS5 Pro.
It is an exceptionally well-optimized game, even on the base PS5, so the PS5 Pro just gets that extra little bit.
However, with that said, if you had me blind taste test these, I would not object to either of them.
No, they both look nice, but there's no question about it. But people do this comparing thing to PC and consoles all the time, but the fact of the matter is, if you walked away from either of them sometimes for a few hours and came back and played one or the other, a lot of people would find it difficult to tell certain games apart. Obviously, some games are going to be leaps and bounds better on one system or the other, but in even something like this, I reckon I could tell these two apart absolutely instantly, just because of the HDR and that better depth you get in from the PS5 Pro version.
This is a great experience if you want to play Rift Apart.
I watched something that I've been curious to see for myself, and I would be able to tell the difference with PSSR for one big issue, which is some of its upscaling looks like it's moving. If you look at those lines in the deck, you can see them kind of like moving, and they're not supposed to be. Like they're supposed to be stationary.
Oh, okay, so hold on a second.
See? Yours are just stationary. So there's motion artifacting or something. I saw it in a Digital Foundry video, and I've been curious to see that.
So we've got some advantages and disadvantages both ways.
Yes.
I'm just looking at the...
But I'd say the advantages of the PS5 Pro are massively better than what they are on PC. Yeah, you've got that shimmering effect you get from PSSR at the moment until they work out a way how to fix that. But Like down there, you have to pause it and zoom in and look for it. On some games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, it is much more noticeable, but it's noticeable on the PC version as well, just not to the same degree as it is on the PS5 Pro version with PSSR. But I would easily take that PS5 Pro version with that slight shimmery effect and that much, much better depth of picture with that much, much better HDR over that PC version. Right now, like I say, I'm keeping the caveat open that they may be able to play with some settings.
Ways.
Yes.
I'm just looking at the confetti in there.
Inside, yeah.
I think mine is just going to crap. FSR has no idea what to do with it.
It's pretty bonkers.
There's a lot of motion artifacts in it. And it's clear that the PS5 Pro's upscaling is doing a much better job here. Like, it's really hard, but if you can catch one with your eye and try to follow it around, you can follow a piece of confetti around yours. Mine, good luck.
Yeah.
That's just a garbled mess.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Overall, the motion is still there. It's moving clockwise or whatever.
Yeah.
But those are individual objects, and that's just, it's shredded, almost. My foliage doesn't look way worse than yours here, though. Oh, my trees do, though.
That was background?
Yeah, the background trees look so flat.
Should we change the
lifeless.
settings?
I think this is an L.
I think the PS5 Pro might take the win on this one.
Might? There's no might about it. It's like this huge difference. Wow.
I think set to high, but I think we're going to want to mess with the settings again. I think your menu looks better, though. Like, substantially. Oh. Would you like to enable the Pro rendering mode? Here we go. Yes.
We reset these displays right before we started, and when we were using them for PS5 versus PS5 Pro on short circuit, they looked the same.
I thought Windows 11 HDR was supposed to be good.
You just said you liked mine better.
That's true.
Hey, did I load first?
I think you might have loaded faster than the PS5 Pro.
Got him.
Oh, no. Just
Dang
kidding. Between the two? Wow, that's remarkably close.
Yeah, very similar.
I feel like your hair is better, but maybe I'm just at an
Thanks.
angle. It's true. I think your textures are worse. That's pretty bad.
If they are, it's not by much, dude.
I think, like, the photos are a little bit clearer here. I don't know if that's a PSSR thing, because it looks like.
We'll just pause it there. That PS5 Pro version is a lot sharper than that PC version. Look at the edge of the lamp at the top. It's much crisper, and the stars on the lamp as well, much crisper as well. And the light shining through the lamp is, I don't know if it's just the pause scene not being exact, but it's much more vibrant on the PS5 Pro. And that photo on the PC one, just a bit of a complete blur. Hey, and let's carry on.
PSSR thing, because it looks like it's doing some weird work on their shirts.
Yeah. Dude, I would rather have the softer photo than the, like, shimmery line on it.
It's distracting.
Are you getting a...
Never saw that shimmery line. I don't know, I might have to play it back, but I didn't see it on that photo at all there. But I can live with that shimmer. If you're pausing, looking at that close up, that means you're kind of looking for it a lot of the time. I would rather have the sharper, clearer image. It's funny with PC people because a lot of them are continuously after better sharpness, better image clarity, things like that. You often hear PC people saying about your blur fest or whatever on a console, but console users don't care so much about native resolution because they sit much further back from their screen. PC users are very close. Most of the time, that means that their native resolution is much more important to them. But it's quite funny that when the console version is sharper looking than the PC version, they still find a reason to actually say they prefer their blurry version compared. Whatever.
line on it?
It's distracting.
Are you getting a good solid 60 FPS?
Oh yeah, this is very 60 FPS-y.
Me too.
Looks like your 1% lows are a little bit lower, but I wouldn't be able to tell.
Not with any kind of variable refresh rate.
The fact that we can be this close to the screen and not tell the difference, I think tells the story.
Yeah,
It's a super
they
dark
both
scene,
look
though.
great.
They both look
They
fantastic.
both look
I think
alright,
we could
yeah.
call this a close enough.
Yeah. I think we could probably tweak settings and get it a little bit better, but you're already at your performance threshold, so.
Yeah, I think this is as good as it's gonna get. Wow, this is not good.
Oh wow, yeah,
edge
you're
to Velcro.
40-ish.
I don't even think I believe what FrameView is saying. Dude, touch this.
Oh yeah, that's like sub 30.
No, that's way.
This is bad.
The pacing here is terrible.
Turn off your ray tracing.
You know what, I'm gonna turn VSync off and see if that helps. Yeah, that helps a lot.
Okay.
Okay, now it feels like what it says it is. The thing about VSync is if you dip below the target frame rate, in many cases, it will actually have to dip even lower in order to ensure smooth delivery of frames. And if you are oscillating between them, it can feel extremely stuttery, worse than if you just didn't have it at all. And in this case, this was clearly the right play. I'm getting a little bit of tearing, but this is way smoother. It doesn't look as smooth as yours, though.
Again, that looks so much better on the PS5 Pro. If they're saying this is another close one, then they're either not looking properly or they're being like blind PC fans that are blinded by the obvious facts, which sometimes they just don't want to accept. But he's been fairly honest so far in the comparisons of these games, but just not so much so on how they built the thing in the first place for the cost. But I can see already that the HDR on this is way better than it was that image we've seen a minute ago on the PC.
Yours, though. Once again, your HDR pops so much more than mine. And for those of you looking at FrameView up here and doubting that HDR is working, my menu pops. Like HDR is definitely on both of these displays. It says HDR mode right here. Asus Gaming HDR. Trust me, we reset them right before we started. We did learn when we did the last PS5 killer that Intel's implementation of HDR just plain didn't work because there's a lot of proprietary nonsense that both AMD and Nvidia have baked into their drivers to get the bloody thing working. So we could be seeing some of that here. It could also be that Windows HDR just plain isn't that great.
I'm curious, can I come stand on that semicircle? I want to look at the background. Because I'm getting a lot of that motion upscaling
shimmering
from in the background
PSSR.
again.
I mean, in the paused shot there, looking out, I prefer the PC image because of that lack of that PSSR effect, shimmer, fizzle, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, there's something I need to try and fix on the PS5 Pro for sure with PSSR.
Yours looks a lot more stable.
Nope, mine's clean.
But I think you need to turn down some settings to get to 60.
Yeah. Okay.
But again,
I don't like PSSR. I think it looks bad. Like, look at this tree. Am I crazy? Is that, like, that's...
No, you're not crazy. That's a lot worse than mine. Have a look.
I expected this to be better than FSR. And I think...
PSSR is, in general, better than FSR. There's games that have shown it in a really good way. Like, I've played Ratchet & Clank plenty on my 65-inch OLED, and I've actually never noticed that shimmering fizzle effect, which they spotted on that. Sometimes people are going out of their way to find these things, but that's not how you play these games. You don't play these games by pausing them, going up 2 feet away from the screen, trying to find these things. From a normal play distance, playing the game normally, a lot of time you don't notice these things. In a really bad case of it, like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, on some of the foliage and stuff, it does really stand out, and it is absolutely rotten on that game. But in general, on most games, these things they're pointing out here are not going to be an issue. If you're standing there looking around, getting upset that a twig kind of disappeared in and out a bit off a tree, then yeah, whatever. But I would take that image on the PS5 Pro and that wonderful HDR and that better ray tracing over that PC version, just because the twigs don't move on the tree. It's like, if they're saying they prefer that, then yeah, up to them.
I expected this to be better than FSR. And I think,
Well,
walking
it
around
is
playing the
better
game
than
normally,
FSR.
that is 10
But it's
times
not
better.
better than just if you aren't using as much FSR.
that's fair.
I have a more powerful GPU than you.
Yes.
However, it's pretty clear that I'm not getting an even 60 FPS. And honestly, all things considered, I'd probably take that gaming experience.
Yeah.
Really, hey?
I mean, here, try it.
That's right.
Swapsies.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And I'm not looking at this going, wow, what a huge difference in visual fidelity, when I'm actually playing the game. if I'm not sitting and pixel peeping.
Exactly.
No, these are both more than adequate. I would be fine with either of these.
I think I would be prepared, without changing one setting at a time and rebooting the whole game, I think I'd be prepared to call this one pretty much a tie.
Yeah?
Really?
It's not
Just because of a little bit of shimmering on PSSR, but the monumentally better HDR, the better overall image. But because you can see a twig better, then you're calling it a tie? Whatever, it's his comparison. Fair enough.
prepared to call this one pretty much a tie.
Yeah?
It's not quite there. I don't think we're quite there,
But yeah, I've still got image
but
settings
it's
to play
pretty
with.
close.
It's pretty close.
All right, so there it is. It was another attempt to beat the PS5 Pro using a same price PC. And again, another complete and abject failure. Not only did they fail to pick the correct graphics card, because Digital Foundry showed what was the correct equivalent, and that would have been more equal on the effects of how good ray tracing was, as well as a few other things, but they decided not to go down that route, probably because it was too expensive. And they went with this weird thing as well, with all used parts again. Some of them at crazy prices as well. The PS5 Pro isn't used, it's brand new. And you get a full warranty with that and things like that. You're not going to get a proper warranty with those used PC parts. And you've said like scrapyard parts sometimes to bring it down to a price where you can include Wi-Fi 7. And even then, you still didn't include even a keyboard and mouse. Didn't see in there anywhere. And I know that's cheap, but you've still got to add these things. And he didn't include any of the shipping costs of any of those things. On 3 items alone, that was $50 on its own. And he included, I think, a cheap controller, not a quality controller like the DualSense, where you've got the built-in haptics, you've got the built-in mic and speaker, things like that. That's another 80. So all in all he proved yet again was that no, you cannot come even close to the PS5 Pro for the same money as a gaming machine. Obviously, the PC has other benefits. Things like that, you can do the other things on a PC. But as I pointed out on other videos before, so can I. I can just get a cheap laptop and I can do those other things at the same time. And PC people would counter that by saying, yeah, but we have free online and you have to pay for yours. Console people would counter that by saying, yes, but we get a lot of AAA exclusives as part of that bundle. And I bet you that what that costs a year for that, you pay extra in power costs, power consumption and electricity, because your PC probably costs at least double what mine costs to run, which then outweighs the cost of that subscription. So you can go on about these things forever. The only thing this video proved yet again is that the PS5 Pro is, as a gaming machine, absolutely terrific value for money, because a PC cannot come anywhere near it, even when using all used and even scrapyard parts. But there it is, there's the video. If you enjoyed it, found it useful and helpful, it'd be really cool if you bash that like and subscribe button. It really does help. But most of all, thanks for watching. Catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.